So today we're going to be discussing your functional threshold power test, which is going to be a great metric that we're going to be able to use to try and gauge how much intensity that you're pushing throughout your sessions. This can be used as a fitness test, and it can also be used to try and prescribe what level of intensity that we're going to do within your biking sessions. Now, this is a very nice test to do within cycling specifically, because within cycling, we often, due to the seated position, don't get quite as accurate a heart rate measurement compared to the amount of intensity that's actually being experienced within the working muscles because of the seated position. So actually this FTP is quite a nice way where we can quantify the intensity experienced by the working muscles specifically, and we can use that to kind of structure how your progression is going, and then also to assess how our body is responding to the training over time. So it can be a very useful tool for us to have. And what we are essentially going to do is we're going to do a condensed 20-minute test to track this. There are other tests. The gold standard is essentially how much your average watts or power output is across 1 hour. Now, I prefer to do a condensed test so it's not as long-winded, so that we can get more or less the same level of information from less time, which is always an advantage to try and optimize our training time. So what we're going to do for this initial test is we're going to warm up with a standardized protocol, and then after that we're going to go for a 20-minute cycle, and we're going to try and go as high intensity as we can sustain. So we don't want you sprinting and then absolutely dying after 5 minutes. We want to basically gauge your kind of maximum aerobic energy production. So we're trying to keep it at a high pace, but as high a sustainable pace as is possible. So you're going to be going for the full 20, and after that we're then going to take the average watts. So very important that you have a bike that you can measure the power output through watts, and whenever we get that 20-minute cycle done, we're going to then track the average there, and we're going to just apply a little factor to maybe encompass how that might look and pan out over an hour if we were to continue. So we're going to multiply our answer by 0.95, which should give us our FTP score. This is nicely correlated with lactic threshold, or kind of the period of time with which your muscles are going to accumulate that lactate at an unsustainable rate where they can't quite clear out the byproducts, which lead to all that muscle burn and all of the stuff that comes with anaerobic energy production. So we can basically get a really good measure of that without having to do the invasive blood work tests to actually measure it. So it's a real win-win. We can do a very simple machine-based test that doesn't take a lot of time, and we can use that data then to inform the rest of your training. So what I'm going to ask for you to do is to follow the protocol as is wrote on the program that you will have been sent. We can then plug in your answer into the formula on the sheets that I will link, and from there it'll populate what the intensity of your FTP is, and then all of our programming subsequently will be based off a percentage of that. So we can make really, really specific intensity guidelines for you that's going to allow us to be really, really data driven and data led with how intense that you're pushing your sessions. So I hope that that was all fairly clear. If not, you can shoot me some messages to discuss a little bit further.